Hello, this is Dr. Nordstrom, and we are looking at this week's module on online learning activities. So let's first look at designing online activities. There are a vast array of online technologies available that can help enhance learning activities. It is important, however, to carefully select the ones that are most appropriate for your class learning outcomes. It is also important to remember that the internet is not purely used in an educational context. It is part of our everyday life and has become integrated into contemporary society, and our teaching should reflect and acknowledge this. Hence, decisions about the choice of technologies and online activities need to be made in relation to curriculum alignment and the use of technology that is most appropriate for facilitating certain types of interactions. Introducing an online activity to a class can offer many benefits to teachers and students. However, success often relies on how appropriate the activity and the chosen technology are for the learning context, and how well both are integrated into the learning process. In a blended learning or a fully online learning environment, the same principles of curriculum alignment apply as in a fully face-to-face course. The difference is there is a greater range of activities that can help support teaching and facilitate learning. However, for the online learning and teaching experience to be effective, it is important that there is strong alignment between the intended learning outcomes and the activities that will help develop students' achievement of these outcomes. How you choose which activity and associated technology to use can depend on a number of factors. The intended learning outcomes for the course, the student's situation like location, access to internet, number of students in the class, etc. Also the learning experiences or technical requirements of the course content, the teacher's previous online experience, the requirements or policies of the institution regarding the use of different online technologies. It's also important to consider pedagogy before technology. It is important to examine the reasons for introducing an online activity into your teaching. Using it purely as a gadget because the technology is available does not guarantee a successful learning experience. Students value technology when it adds to their learning, not when it is used with no apparent relationship or benefit to how they learn. It is important, therefore, to consider the following issues. Establish key principles and then decide how technology can support activities that explore them. For example, what are the learning outcomes? What do you want to achieve? What skills do you want students to learn? Ask these questions and then decide how best you can integrate the technology in order to achieve or support these outcomes. Technology is just a means to an end. When you teach online, you can select from multiple technologies. However, the technology is just a facilitator of the learning process. You still need to have sound teaching strategies in place to support the learning. Activities should remain relevant to the learning process. Be discerning. Don't be caught up in an allure of technology and its many features. Ensure that activities, tasks, etc. have an educational purpose and stimulate learning. It's also important to choose appropriate techniques. When looking at Bloom's taxonomy, there's a range of learning outcomes and associated online activities that may help students develop the skills or knowledge in relationship to each outcome. I'm going to start at the bottom of Bloom's, look at remembering, like identifying, recognizing, listing, and some example types of activities could be online self-test, flashcards, social bookmarking, and searching for facts. Moving on up the taxonomy, let's look at understanding. Some example online activities include discussion forums, commenting, blogging, tweeting, and tagging. Moving up to applying, you can have simulations, podcast, editing wikis, virtual labs. When looking at analyzing, you can do annotating of videos, meta tagging, polling, group negotiation, and reflection. For evaluating, you can have peer review, moderating discussions, critiquing blogs and wikis, online debates, and virtual labs. And then the highest level for Bloom's taxonomy is creating. And for this, you can have presentations, podcast, webcast, video recording, mixing, remixing, and digital storytelling. Well, my first helpful hint is to start simple. If you are new to online teaching or do not have much experience, it can be useful to consider the following. Stick to the basics. While it's tempting to use every new tool and feature in your activity, start slowly and build up your experience and confidence. It is better to introduce one component, use it appropriately, evaluate its success, and then adjust your teaching where necessary. Slowly introduce more components once you and your students are more comfortable with the technology. Use technologies that you are comfortable with. Select technologies that you are already using, that are easy to use or familiarize yourself with, or that your institution provides training and support for. Ensure that you are familiar with the technology before the semester commences. This allows you to foresee any potential problems, adjust any content or task accordingly, and answer any questions promptly that students may have when they start using the technology. Limit the number of technologies used overall in one class. It's kind of difficult when you're thinking about this for a technology integration program. Using too many online components can be overwhelming and frustrating for the students. For example, remembering several passwords, logging into different platforms, familiarizing themselves with new features, etc. And it can also distract from the learning experience. Use only what technology is essential for facilitating your online activity effectively. Let's now talk about the importance of supporting and training your students. While many students are aware of the benefits of using technology in their daily lives for communication, socializing, could be banking, shopping, so forth, they may not always be as familiar or comfortable with using it for learning. As a teacher, it is important for you to explain why you have introduced an online activity. Reiterate at the beginning of the semester or the particular unit that you're doing the purpose of the technology, your reasons for selecting it, how it will benefit their learning, and what the expected learning outcomes are from using it. Also, provide briefing sessions and supporting material. Don't assume that students are familiar with the technology. Provide training sessions at the start for students and any additional teachers, as well as supporting documentation that they can refer to when they need help. Support students throughout the semester. Answer any technical questions promptly. Introduce a question and answer thread online. Provide a list of frequently asked questions and respond to any queries promptly to ensure that the technology does not hinder or frustrate the students' learning. Also, allow students to help one another. Where appropriate, allow students to respond to one another's questions and to share their technical expertise with the class. This can greatly cut down on the times a student has to wait to get help from the teacher. In conclusion, when thinking about online learning activities, make an informed decision about what online activities and supporting technology best suits your teaching can be critical to the success of your students' learning experience. It is important to ensure that carefully considered pedagogy guides and informs your use of technology. It is also advantageous to research which tools or features best facilitate the learning process and outcomes. Similarly, it is important to provide adequate support and training for your students when introducing new online components and to limit the number of technologies used at any one time. Thanks. Have a great week.